dia 5 de outubro, estamos com o Nick Milton, palestrante internacional. Hi, Nick Milton. Welcome to Brazil.
Thank you very much.
How important is to event KM Brasil?
I think an event like KM Brasil, I think it's really important. I think knowledge management, if you read the publications, has for too long been focused on North America and Europe. And now we're seeing events like KM Brasil in the Middle East, the Far East, South America. So I think at events like this, we are discovering knowledge management again, and we're discovering it, how it works for you in Brazil. So I think it's very important, very important.
Okay. How can Brazilian business improve knowledge management in their culture?
That's a big question. I think I'm going to answer it not just for Brazilian business, but for every business. How can you make it part of the culture? Well, first of all, you need to start to set the expectation. The expectation is that in our organization, whichever organization it may be, in our organization we will learn and we will share. And those are the things that drive knowledge management, the desire to learn, the desire to share. And if managers can start to set that expectation, then they will begin to influence the culture. And knowledge management can then provide the mechanism for learning and sharing.
What do you think about trends of KM in world?
Trends of knowledge management in the world. Well, I think there are some good trends, and I think there are some trends that are maybe taking us off course. I think the most important trend that I can see now is that knowledge management is being taken seriously. If you go back in time, there was, in about the year 2000, there was a big bulge of interest in knowledge management. People thought it was new, it was exciting, it would change the world. And then in about 2006, 2007, it tailed off again. And people realized that it was not the instant fix, it was not going to give you the instant answer. But now it's beginning to climb up again, and companies are really realizing that knowledge management, in fact, is very important and it can deliver sustainable value. So for me, that's the good trend, that it's for the second time it's being taken seriously. I think there are other trends. There's a lot of interest now in social media. For me, social media is a tool, but it's not the only answer. So I think there's certainly a trend at the moment that says social media technology is knowledge management. And we've seen many technologies come and go in knowledge management, and the lesson has always been technology is not the answer. So I think social media has got a place as part of knowledge management, but it's more than just technology. I think those are the two trends, the one positive, the one that if we're not careful will pull us off course.
For you, what is organizational culture?
What is organizational culture? Organizational culture it's the way that we behave by default. It's the way that people in an organization will naturally behave. And they behave because everybody else behaves that way. And it becomes, I think it's a very interesting question, what is organizational culture? And I think an even more interesting question is what controls organizational culture? Because it's built into the systems, it's built into the processes, it's built into the thinking, until an organization is unconscious of its culture. It's just the way we work, the way we behave. And part of knowledge management implementation is thinking about how can we shift that culture? How can we shift that culture to a culture where knowledge is given value and it's given priority? So people automatically look for knowledge and share knowledge, which doesn't happen in most companies by default, but it can happen And I think there are a few examples around the world of companies where this is the culture.
Do you like Brazilian culture?
Do I like Brazilian culture? I've only been in Brazil one day, and I like it so far. Otherwise, I come from England, and in England we play football, and in Brazil you play football. But the style of football is very different. And what I think most companies admire about Brazilian football culture is the creativity, the spontaneity, and the artistry of that football. I guess it's part of the atmosphere that you have in Carnival as well, that samba atmosphere, the high energy, the creativity. So that much I like, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it.
How do you characterize a change in culture it relates to knowledge?
How do I characterize a change of culture as it relates to knowledge? I'm going to be talking about this tomorrow in the KM Brasil conference. And I'll give you the short answer because I'm talking about it for an hour and a half tomorrow. The short answer is that the change in culture is a change from seeing knowledge as something personal to seeing knowledge as something collective. It's the change from knowledge is mine and I'm going to look after it and it's my knowledge and it's my power, to a culture that says knowledge is ours. We share it, we build it together, it gives us power. So it's a change from seeing knowledge as personal to seeing knowledge as something the group and the community holds.
Please, can you send a message to SBGC associates?
My message to all of the associates is that knowledge management is not only possible, it's actually very simple. It's not easy, but it's very simple. So just stay with it and stay focused on it. And I think my second message is to focus on knowledge management as a supporter of business value. We don't do knowledge management because knowledge management is good. We do it because it helps the business. So if you keep that business focus, then knowledge management is actually quite simple. But like I said, it's not easy. So stick with it and you'll get there in the end.
What do you think about trends of KM in world?
Trends of knowledge management in the world. I think we can see two trends at the moment, and one is a very healthy trend, and the other one I think needs to be treated a little bit carefully. The primary trend, the one that I think is very important, is that knowledge management now is beginning to be taken seriously again. I think there was a trend in 2000 where knowledge management was new and it was exciting and everybody wanted to do it. And then people realized that it wasn't actually very easy. So in about 2004, 2005, it died away a little bit. But now 2011, the trend is back up. There's new interest in knowledge management, new understanding that it has real value if it's treated carefully and implemented properly. So I think that's a very positive trend. I think the other trend that we see at the moment, which I say you've got to treat a little bit carefully, is the social media trend. Now there's a huge amount of interest in social media, and I think a lot of social media is going to be very, very helpful to knowledge management. But the reason why I say you need to treat it carefully is because technology on its own, even social media technology, is not the answer. We've known for a long time that knowledge management is a mixture of technology, processes, roles and accountabilities. So I would just say to be a little bit careful that social media is part of a framework, but is not in itself the answer. You can't introduce Yammer or Facebook or Twitter to an organization and expect knowledge management just to happen. So social media, yes, very useful, part of the framework, but just be careful that you don't treat it as the whole answer. Those are the two trends, a very positive one and one that you've just got to take a little bit carefully.
Thanks.
Okay? Thank you.
Gustavo Almeida, diretamente do KM Brasil 2011 para SBGC. 10 anos com você.